My major goal from this point on is to film the live recovery of this treasure, which is King Ferdinand's dowry. Right now it's worth in excess of probably about $6 billion. My name is Ron Eagle DeAndre. I first came to Arizona in 1975 in December, on the 7th of December. While here, before Christmas time of that year, I had gotten a present for Christmas called a book called Killer Mountains and some small miniature type maps of the major maps that were found in the 50s. Well, they made me, the Galbraiths, Barbara Galbraith and her father, Mr. Shannon, said to me, if you find out that anything is not copacetic, on the up and up, promise me that you'll quit. So I said, okay, I'll do that. So I just said, well, I'm going to have to record everything. So I did. From that day on, I started my first planning to go into the mountains to hunt for not the Lost Dutchman mine, but the treasure maps, if there was any treasure that these maps pertain to. First trip was March 7th of 1976. We got snowed on and kind of ran out by the thunder gods, so that till the next 1977 I spent my time inside the mountains and going over the area and the terrain and living out there with my Great Dane dog and a wounded mountain lion who came down every several weeks to munch up. 1978, I decided I'd move my camp out to where the place called the Massacre Grounds, which is on the northwest corner of the Superstition Mountains. Well, lo and behold, I was right there in the middle of where the greatest and the only treasure ever located on this planet has been found. The treasure belongs to the King of Spain. It was King Ferdinand's dowry, Ferdinand VII. And in 1833, when he died, the treasure was lost forever. After Mexico won its independence in 1823, it was further lost. So now it was open who was hunting for what. Well, I moved right out into the mountains. And for the next 11 years, from 76 to 85, I spent out into the Superstition Mountains in both areas, and I did all the maps. It took me 7 years to decipher these codes, and lo and behold, we started finding evidence of the treasure. We began to film it. In 1991, we started filming through Bravo Veterans Vision, where I had become a reporter for them and a bureau chief of the state of New Hampshire. The state of Arizona, excuse me. Well, there's been many stories been told. It tells of this mountain, the gold, the treasures, the Apaches. What happened here? Is it just conjecture? Is it contemporary writers' novels? Did this treasure really exist? Did the gold mines really exist? Did anything exist? Well, anything that exists has to be either created by mankind or is created by nature. So we started looking for the natural formations that pertain to on the maps, that were depicted on the maps. And lo and behold, after 43 long years, we now can reveal to the world not only one of the treasures, we have 7 more. 7 parts of this treasure have been found, and we're going to remove them and recover them with the King of Spain's people, the new King of Spain, Ferdinand VI, as soon as probably the protocol can be reached.
So let me ask you, you've already seen this? You've already found it and seen it?
We have, and we have coins and we have crosses that have been identified by Father Polza from the Jesuit
diocese. All items have been viewed by the federal government.
Involved in this over the years, we ran into just certain supernatural and live happening and first encounter type incidences. One was with Wickenburg, Arizona, 1983, May the 4th. My brother and I were up doing the Wickenburg massacre. And we had a really expensive $1,800 gold seeker from Wags Wagner. Wags has shown Gino 12 batteries, 12 AAA batteries. And told Gino exactly how to pack it, put it away, and unpack it. Well, we did it a couple times, so Gino had it down pat. We get up to the Wickenburg, it's about 10:15 in the morning. We started going around the perimeter of the area where the massacre took place. We read the tablet, what happened, how 7 people were murdered, supposedly by the Yavapai Apaches. Excuse me, but it did not take place. A madam from the Army post, Fort McDowell, and her boyfriend, who was the sutler at the store, along with $40,000 of her money and over $180,000 worth of $5 and $20 gold specky for the troops in Phoenix and Fort Pinnell. Well, the story goes that they were wiped out to a man. 2 people survived, the sutler and his girlfriend, who she had found out later he killed her, and they all were hot on his trail. He came back to Phoenix, Arizona to retrieve the gold and stuff that he'd buried, and he got in a knife fight the night came back, and he was killed in the barn at Adams Street in Phoenix, Arizona. The treasure was lost at that time. All of a sudden now, it's 4:30 in the afternoon. My brother said to me, "We got to get out of here." I said, "Why? We just got here, didn't we?" He said, "Look at it, it's 4:30. Well, the vehicle had not wanted to start. He reached over, turned the key on, and cranked right up. And then he looks out the window and he sees at the right front tire, he sees the instrument, the deep seeker, was not in its packaging. We didn't think none of it. We took it back out. We packaged it back up, put it in the vehicle without saying a word. He said to me, "Well, we might as well take a picture and use the rest of the film up." Click, 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 click. I jumped in the car and off we went. He didn't say a word to me all the way home till we got right into Apache Junction, and then he said to me, "Hey, let's drop this in the overnight place and I'll show Greg where we're at so I can explain to him what happened." Okay, didn't think nothing of it. Next morning, 8 o'clock, down we goes, picks up the film. We're driving down the road to Rag's house, and I'm going through the pictures, and I see this spot in one of them. First thing my brother said was, "Oh, the camera was ruined. It's got a blur in it." Well, when we got to Waggy's house, we got explained to what happened to the gold seeker. Waggy took it out of the casing, put the batteries back in it, and he took a silver dollar. And there was 5 of us at his house, and he made one of us hide the gold $20 gold piece. My partner put it in his mouth. And from over 40 feet away, it picked it right up. He walked right over to him and said, "Spit it out." Who was with that gold $20 gold piece in his mouth, underneath his tongue? "Don't swallow it," he said. "Don't swallow it. You won't pass it." Anyways, it worked perfect. So now we're looking at the pictures. We see this oval shaped, almost like a boomerang type thing. Flying saucer. We lost time from 20 minutes after 11 to 4:30 that evening. That was an interesting happening. And then, several years later, we happened to be with a newspaper editor and reporter from the Arizona Republic. We went up to our sites. There was 11 of us. We left and went to the park. Spent the day up at our site, site number 3. Coming back down, the rest of the guys got ahead of us because the trail's all single walking space. And Salvador del Belgadillo was with me, and he was pulling drag. So I said I'd stay back and hang with Sal. When we saw down the road, we could see everything's all clear and open. You could see 3 people, or what looked like people, coming up the trail. But they were in tandem. Well, I tell Salvador, we got to get him off the trail here, and I bet we better tell him the park's closing and there's no water. I said it in English when they were about 20 yards from me. Nothing was said from any one of them. Third guy, finally, who was half the size of him, in a sing-song voice said, "We don't need water." And I looked over at Sal to tell him that we have to get off the trail, and he looked at me with the strangest look on his face I ever seen on a man, and he went, "They ain't there." Who ain't there? Where are they at? They had disappeared. When we got back down to the park, I'm asking the people who were there if they had seen the same things that we had seen. Oh yeah, 3 people all dressed the same, silver shirts, special looking glasses, no ears, wearing ninja type shoes, and wafting or floating along past them. When I asked the reporter, how did they get past you? He said they went right through the fence. I went, excuse me? He said, yes. He said they didn't stop either. He said, we had to go back through. He said, by the time we saw them again, they were past your brother. That's my story, and I'm sticking to it.
Awesome. So, hey, I got a question for you. So there's been a lot of strange disappearances, strange things going on here. Salvador talked about the Black Legion. Do you know anything about the Black Legion? Are they connected with the disappearances of people, or?
Well, that remains to be seen at this point. There's no proof of that, but they have members of the Apache tribe, the keepers of the sacred places that are in the mountains, especially by Sibicu and places like that. They're called the Black Legion. And they come down every year in March, and they bless the dead that they had over at Second Water. They don't bless this place at all. None of their warriors died here. Their warriors died mostly and buried at Second Water. And there's been several instances in the last couple hundred years, I'd say, where incidents have come up where guys have been out camping and stuff. All of a sudden they feel hands on their legs, and whatever's pulling them pulls them right through their tent. That caught my attention because I know somebody that I know personally that happened to, and it is supernatural. And I know the brothers, because I'm part Native American, that when the shaman people conjure things up, they can do things. And they can be transformers. They can take the form of animals, trees, they're transmutables. All the native people who live here in this part of the country know this to be not just folklorish. It's considered verbatim. If you saw an X on the bottle, don't drink it. Poison. and don't arouse them. Because I've not had an experience like that, but I know that people who have had, I kind of look at it with, I'll throw the salt over my shoulder, but I'll keep an eye open for the front. It's been very interesting at all because this whole place is just loaded with stories from the past that haven't really been told.
Yeah.
Most of the contemporary writers that came here on a lip and a whim, and they sit down and write a story, they read a story, write a story, but to live it every single day, that's a different story. And it's a real story, and it's one that, well, it's believable because it's truthful and factful. When I first came here, the Barbara Gelbert family told me, could you write us a story about the Superstition Mountains? So I did. It kind of goes like this. Out in the Arizona desert, amidst the cactus and the quails, there stands a majestic mountain. She overlooks the Apache Trail. And in the crisp and starlit nights, one can hear the coyotes wail. Many tales have been told about her. Tales of treasures, her God, her gold. Once the home of the fierce Apaches, she's the shrine where their thunder god abodes. Brave men have searched her valleys. They've climbed her canyon walls. They've looked upon Weaver's needle, enraptured by the beauty of it all. Now some were men of honor. Others were men of greed. But they all had one thing in common. The gold found in this mountain would satisfy their needs. To the Spanish, they came from Mexico. They mined her yellow gold. They called her the Sierra de Espuma. It means the mountain of the foam. For, yes, she was a mountain of foam and a mountain of mystery to those men so far from home. So stands this mountain of mystery. She is the shrine of the thunder god's domain. Once the home of the fierce Apaches, Superstition Mountain is her name.